instant gratification, kind of like Pee-wee in the theater.
Who said it was instant? Give him a little bit of credit. I mean, maybe it was,
Oh yeah. Did they ever determine if he finished? Okay.
Recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, Sean Greenfield returns to the show for a wide range of topics, including a breakdown of a list of the funniest movies of all time, a guide to the perfect workout to get jacked in the gym, a heartfelt tribute to the late, great Paul Reubens, and a discussion on who should be included on the Mount Rushmore of weed smokers. So let's get this joint rolling and help me welcome back to the program. He is my old pal, Mr. Sean Greenfield. All right, Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's up?
How you been, man?
I'm good. Yeah, doing my thing.
Nice. So you look good. You've been working out, huh?
That's my thing. That's what I've been doing. So this is basically it. Yeah. Wake up, eat something, do that, come back, eat more, go to sleep. Yeah. Maybe some work here and there, but
So I got to ask now, you people have told you before, I know from previous conversations, that, you don't necessarily look your age. I get that sometimes too, except for the gray hair and everything. But you know what? I want to know, what is your diet like? Do you have a strict diet, or do you kind of work out in order to be able to eat? Some people do both, so.
No,
but,
that's a really good question, because the people, so if you work out to eat, you're kind of, that's going up the down escalator. Because anybody,
that's what Lee says he does. He's like, look, I like to eat so much that I have to work out just to stabilize myself, but you're not going to get ripped, right?
That's an attempt at a mitigation, which everything is relative. It depends on what you're eating and what you're doing versus, just where the balance is, if there is one. But ultimately, you cannot out-eat, or you cannot outwork a bad, diet. So, for me in particular, since that was the question, though, the eating is first. The eating comes first. So, you really have to determine, your calorie intake for what your purpose is. So you have like a maintenance intake, which is where you're not going to gain or lose any weight. It's just where you're at. And then if you want to gain weight, you need a calorie surplus. If you want to lose weight, you need a calorie deficit. And so there's different sorts of diets, for these purposes, right? And and ultimately what most people say it comes down to is they call it like CICO or something, like various things, but it's calories in, calories out. So that method of thinking says it doesn't matter what it is that I eat, as long as it's within this amount of calories. And there's some truth to it, but it's also flawed in certain ways. So for example, like, a certain amount of calories doesn't guarantee you a certain amount of protein, which is necessary for muscle synthesis and things like this. So you do have to have like what you call the macros, for the, or at least for the most part, which is, the amounts of, because calories are made up of, protein and fat and carbs and everything. It's just, so if you know what your maintenance is, and you figure that out and you decide that you want to cut and you want a calorie deficit, then your job is to, is really, your goal is going to be to cut, your calories by a few hundred at a time. or add them a few hundred at a time. And you can manipulate that depending on, the progress that you see or that you don't see, whatever. And then you do your workouts based around that. Your workouts are going to be what they are. And I don't go far enough as to like actually track like what I burn during workouts because I'm not really concerned with it. But but for example, I eat roughly 36 to 3,800 calories a day.
So Sean, just to give examples so people can follow, what you're talking about, what is like an average breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like, just go over, because I know usually people that work out kind of like eat some of the same kinds of things. So what is like an average for you during a day?
Good. Yeah. So breakfast, for example, it's going to consist of roughly around between 700 to 800 calories, probably around 740, 760, something like that. And what that's going to be for me is it's going to be like 4 eggs, whole eggs. Don't just mess with the whites and stuff. 4 eggs, a couple pieces of turkey bacon.
Do you eat them like Rocky? You just crack them.
that would save a lot of time. 1 or 2 pieces of toast, depending on what type of bread that it is. And that's about it. You can add in, like some guys, if you're still hungry, you can add in salads and stuff. That's a 0 calorie kind of a thing. You can eat as much as you want to make yourself, full, so you don't keep on eating anyway. And then, but so I'm eating like, for example, I have like about 5 meals a day. So, another one, like the next one, lunchtime or whatever you call it, would be, 6 to 8 ounces. So maybe that would be like a chicken breast, like a normal one. So of chicken or meat, like maybe steak, or ground beef or ground turkey, something like that. And then, I'll put like some green beans maybe, or something like that. Some sort of vegetation that I'll actually eat. Potatoes, maybe about 8 ounces or so of potatoes.
So you're not afraid of potatoes? I heard people that are like, no on the potatoes.
Yeah, it depends on what the goal that you have to meet is. If you want to do if you want to hit like a super low, sort of calorie or carbohydrate kind of a thing, then you're gonna skip stuff like that. But also potatoes, not the greatest. Rice is probably the better one, but you're looking at the difference between complex and simple carbs. And
I heard a guy have the potato diet one year. He's like, I'm eating nothing but potatoes. I guess you could do a diet with anything, right? I heard of a guy doing a Twinkie diet like a few years ago. A Twinkie diet.
Yeah, that's a little bit extreme, but ultimately it comes from here's my advice to anybody that's listening to this and is actually interested in the topic, is if you really want to figure out what you should and shouldn't eat, or you want to do meal plan or whatever, because most people, you don't want to do what? You don't want to be measuring how many ounces this is. You don't want to be measuring how many carbs or how many calories this is. You don't want to be doing this math. And get somebody to do it for you. It's not as expensive as people think. I didn't want to think about it. I know this stuff. I know the math. I know these
You've
things.
been doing it long enough where
I still don't want to do it, And so, I gotta try. I have a trainer right now, and I was just like, just give me a meal plan. Like, I don't want to think about it. Just tell me when to eat, what to eat, and how much of it to eat.
So what do you just because I cut you off earlier? Sorry about that. No, we stopped at lunch. So you have breakfast, you have lunch, and then what does a dinner look like?
Pretty similar to the lunch there.
Okay.
So yeah, what he did for me, for example, is and this is what most of them should do, is they go ahead and get a list of all the stuff that you like. Not maybe everything that you like, but more specifically what you don't like, because there's not going to be a point in giving you a meal plan of stuff that you're not actually going to eat.
Right.
and then they work from there. Obviously they're going to get like what, anything you can't eat. I don't have any allergies, but some people do. And and they make a meal plan from that. And if anybody's techie out there, by the way, you can get AI like ChatGPT to do this for you. Actually, it comes out pretty awesome. I've messed with it a little bit and it works.
Wow.
Too. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, they just come up with a meal plan based on, and they're going to take into account what you want to do. Do you want to come up? Do you want to cut down? And then they'll base it on how, that amount of calories that you're going to need. And then they check your progress and then either, increase or decrease, give you a different meal plan with a updated, calorie intake. The whole thing is just, but if you do get into it and start figuring out on your own, but you still don't want to count calories, remember this, you only have to count them once, per meal. Most people eat the same meals, just in different orders all the time, we're always eating the same stuff over and over again. So you only need to figure out those calories one time. And then, from now on. So it's not really as difficult as it seems.
Now, when you're working out, are you more of a high rep, lower weight guy, or are you a high weight, lower rep guy, or do you mix it up? Or
yeah, Lee's come with me a couple of times lately, so he can attest to this. What I do is, so you got me on a topic where I can go, I'll go forever. But personally, what I do is I do sets of roughly between 10 to 15 reps, 10 to 12, 20, 10 to 15. And what you should do is pick a weight that, if you could do more than that, you should be going heavier. You should not be able to do another rep per set at rep number 12, 10, 11, whatever. You should fail somewhere in between the 10 to 15 rep mark. If you hit 12, 13, 14, 15 reps and you could have done more, then you're going too light. Having said that, that's of course ensuring that you're doing it correctly and and all that kind of stuff. But
I just used to do the burnout, like where I would start out high, and then I would just always do as many as I possibly could. And then, because, a lot of the time I was working by myself, and I had a little safety bar, to catch me, which came in handy quite a bit. But I would use that. But
there's value.
I did it to more stay in shape than to get,
There's value to that. Actually, every once in a while, like maybe once a month or something, I'll do a day where it'll be just a little bit lighter, but super high volume, and I'll do, 50 reps, 100 reps, just of any particular thing. Every once in a while. Yeah. You can, it's not about the weight and, and now you're getting into sort of like the difference between, strength training, your powerlifting, your bodybuilding, and there's kind of different methodologies to each one, because powerlifting is just, I don't care what I really look like. I just want to lift like the heaviest amount of weight.
Yeah. Like the old weight room at the high school used to be like that. And I'm like, okay, guys, all the younger kids, they'd be like, what? They'd be like really embarrassed. And I'd be like, and as seniors, we'd be like, oh man, don't even actually, I was out of, this is when I would go in with Ethan and work with the kids that are coming up. But like, they would always want to lift the most. And it's like, okay, you need to work on like, kind of like your form and like, doing it right, instead of trying to, you're not going to do as much as that kid over there. Like a kid's like, short, doesn't have a long way to go, big, bulk. You're not going to do as much as him. So
yeah. The decreased range of motion is the shorter guys are always have that advantage for sure. But yeah, it's like for me at this point, I am fairly significantly strong, but I'm not really interested in, not interested in being like the strongest, like the strongest guy. That's hard on your joints, man. Honestly, it's just, it's like at some point your elbows and your knees and your shoulders and everything starts to hurt. And that, by the way, for some of us, that point is now. But otherwise, it's just kind of like, I'm just doing it so I look fucking awesome naked. You're welcome.
Here, let's flash up a picture of that. No,
So it's centered around what you call hypertrophy, which is just the actual growth and symmetry of the muscle fibers, and that really doesn't correspond to strength, actually.
Yeah.
So if you have a pretty good amount of both, but the method is a little bit different, so.
All right, so let's move on here. How's the weather been up there?
Sweaty. Yeah, it's been sweaty.
It's been a hot summer.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty decent. I like it.
Yeah, you kind of like the heat, huh? You said that you're like, man, if I didn't have as many responsibilities as I have up in the area that you're in, which is the Seattle area, you said you'd move down to Phoenix. And I'm like, do you realize how hot it's been this July in Phoenix? It's been the average temperature in Phoenix just for this last month in July has been over 110 degrees. The average. I think it was like 113 degrees or something. I don't know what it was, but
I heard I got to come there next month for my little girl's birthday, so I'll be there.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll have to hook up for a drink or something.
Yeah. Remember the time when I came there and I had that like 2-pound, I brought a 2-pound bag of gummies with me, and they like melted into a big bag of just Jell-O in the car. I was like, yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, it is hot. It is hot.
I wanted to see if it would like cool off and just be like a giant gummy like that.
I like that one time we went to the pool and we were like drinking all day with Winkles, and Winkles is kind of like a zombie. I'm like, man, you used to be so fun. What happened to you? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? You used to be nuts. And then we came back and you're like, yeah, I'll take a drink. And then you're like, all right, yeah, let's watch a movie. And you're like, you're trying so hard not to pass out. But it's like, if you're A, in the heat all day, B, drinking, you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Don't have a chance.
That was like that. Yeah. That time when I came out and I was like, I've been awake for like a couple days in a row.
Yeah.
You told people your description of it was the funniest, because you're like, yeah, I thought he, we were like, we were talking about going somewhere, and he went upstairs, and I thought he fell asleep, and then like a few minutes later he comes down, he's just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, okay, he's back. All right, okay. Yeah, I was like, all right, well, I guess I should pack shit up and start getting ready for. Oh, he's. Not only is he ready, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. Let's do this. All right.
Remember at the end of that night, like my eyes would not stay open. Like I still wanted to go and do stuff, and I couldn't see because
it was
closing involuntarily.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. You wanted to go out, but your body's like, sorry, buddy, this ain't happening. This ain't happening, man. I've had those. Because I would always get invited to the pool, these big pool parties, because they wanted, like, I was like the music guy. So I'd make sure that, I'd look around and be like, all right, what kind of vibe are we looking at here? All right, we have some older people. Okay, maybe mix in some like classic rock and, something like that with like kind of like the dance music and everything. But I learned real quick. I'm like, okay, if I kind of stick to water and maybe like every other, like a beer or something like that, then I'll be okay. But if I drink just, if I'm drinking like they are, like everybody else, I'm done and I ain't going out later. So I'm like, all right, I gotta slow this down. Especially when I'm hanging out with like guys that are like, 28, 20, something. And I'm like, here I am like 40. I'm like, Yeah, this ain't I gotta really plan stuff out here. But Phoenix, I don't know if you've seen the new, Phoenix is crazy right now. Like there's cactuses that are like collapsing. There's people going to the hospital because they fell down and they're getting burns.
This heat is brutal, but just imagine falling on the pavement when it's at least 40 degrees hotter than the ambient temperature. In this case, it's more than 170 degrees. That's enough to cause severe burns.
We've had multiple days over 110 degrees and no reprieve at night.
The reality is, if you have bare skin on the pavement for even 10 to 20 minutes, the skin can be destroyed, leaving behind injuries consistent with house fire survivors.
And then what's crazier even than that, well, I have friends that they work outside and they're like, I got heat exhaustion. And I'm like, well, yeah, no shit. And then this is crazy. I've never heard this one before, but I'm surprised it hasn't happened more. There was a concert a couple weeks ago and it heated up the equipment so bad. This is a major concert. This was this was Disturbed. Disturbed was in town. Their equipment got so hot, it shut everything down. So they're like, we got to reschedule, guys. It's too hot. It's like it cooked our equipment. They had to tell everybody to leave right when they were getting there, right when they were starting the concert. They're like,
the beginning. Oh.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, Eric's sister was there, and she's like, "Yeah, we're leaving the concert." He goes, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, they canceled it. They canceled the concert." So yeah, I haven't heard that one, but I have been to a concert, but we're like, by the way, they shouldn't have these concerts in the summer here, like outdoors. Like, what is this? Come on. They have like an amphitheater, like the White River Amphitheater, where they have the grass part, and then they have the the bottom section where that's covered, right? But the grass not covered.
I've never been there.
Oh,
yeah, no, I mean, like you would think, but I've actually never been to any, because when they built it, or when they finished it or whatever, I lived in Florida, I think, and then and I've just never been there since.
Gotcha. Okay. Anyway, they have the cheap seats. You could sit in the grass. You could just chill up there in the grass. It's considerably cheaper. But in Phoenix, they have that, and it's basically just the sun is just pounding on you, right? Just taking a beating with the sun. And it got so hot this one time. We went there, and they're like, "Hey guys, we're closing off the top section, and we're gonna move everybody underneath the covered section." And I was like, Jesus. What, they should just not have these concerts out in the open when it's 110 degrees, just sitting there cooking. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. The risk of people just passing out and all that is way too much for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, eventually it's going to get dark, but it's like, okay, for a certain amount of time, in the summer, it's like a little, the sun stays out a little longer. Especially in Seattle, it's like till 10 o'clock or something like that. It's crazy, which is one of my favorite things about Seattle, which people don't realize, because you're down in Florida, right, for a while, and it wasn't like that there. I know it wasn't like that here. Like it gets way dark. I'll be like FaceTiming somebody, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like completely light out, and it's pitch dark outside right now here. So it's weird how that works, but
yeah, except for there, it doesn't get cooler at night just because it's darker. So
yeah, we got a low of like 92 degrees like the other day, and I was like, 92, that's great. I was out watering my plants the other day, and I was like, Jesus, it's hot out here. Like, it's just ridiculously hot. And I'm like, it's in the morning, it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, God, it's ridiculous. You're like, sounds amazing to me.
You want to squirt yourself off with the hose, and you're like, this is hot too.
Yeah, it was twisting, and it was pulling me, because it wanted to turn, so I like turned it, and it went, whoosh, and it went straight up and like rained on me, and I'm like, oh, that feels amazing. Now, speaking of concerts, do you see many concerts? Like, what's the last concert you went to?
The last one was so the last two that I've been to have been sort of like reggaeton, like Latin kind of stuff. So the last one was Raul Alejandro. And then the one before that was Fade, which probably, most people probably aren't going to know what they are. But those were the last two. I was planning on going to, there's a festival. It's a 3-day Baja Beach Fest is what it's called. It's in Mexico. I planned on going to that, but I'm not going to be able to this time. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It would have been cool, but yeah.
So what would you say the best concert that you've ever gone to was? Or even just like the most memorable?
The most memorable one was probably definitely, I think you already know what I'm going to say, but I think I had the most fun at Van Halen. I went to,
nice.
Now this was Balance. This was so long ago though.
Oh, like 95-ish, 96 or something like that?
Yeah, but it was at the Gorge, and I just remember having like so much fun there. And then another one that we had a lot of fun, probably just because all of us that went, but it was when me and Chris and and everybody kind of went to the Summer Jam for 93.3's.
No way.
It's cool.
What year was that?
Let me check my stone tablets. But that was kind of fun.
The reason I bring this up is like there's a kind of like a trend lately that's been going on, and where people are starting to, now this has always happened. People have always done this, but people are starting to throw shit at the singers, like on stage. And again, this has happened before. I remember seeing like clips of Guns N' Roses, like what's his name? Axl Rose stopping the show. He's like, "Look, you guys want us to leave?" Or
we have some really fucking stupid people here tonight who think that throwing things at the stage will relate into a better show. It won't happen that way because we will fucking go home. Don't try me. Now, shall we continue or shall we go home?
he's like, "Look, you guys want us to leave?" Or if anybody sees like someone throwing something at me, point them out. Get them out of here. Like, or it's kind of like the old military rule. It's like, you want to fuck up? We're all going to do push-ups. You guys all want to do push-ups? Or,
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, yeah, we don't want people to throw shit. Like people are throwing like full cans of beer and shit on stage. But then I saw something confusing. There was some chick and some country chick. I can't remember what her name was. But anyway, she was someone, I don't know, someone had a beer or something like that. Like someone in the like audience, and they handed her a beer and she like shotgunned it like when she's on stage. But then she takes it and then she throws it like back out in the crowd. And I'm like, okay, now you're throwing something in the crowd. And what if it like hits you in the side of the head and like, you're like, okay, well, fuck you, man. I'm going to throw it back up to you. And it's also confusing because now like these people have like these beers and they're like, well, I remember this one guy from the new lead singer of Foreigner. And he was like, yeah, I've dodged full cans of beer. Like, and you can't see anything because it's like just a spotlight on you. And it's like at the last second, you're like, you have to dodge, like you have to fucking move out of the way. But it's like, okay, well, if people are shotgunning beers on stage, maybe they think that you'll, drink the beer and want the beer. I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like, oh, I guess the best way to get him this beer is to throw it at him,
Yeah, right.
why can't, I'm glad nobody wants to give me a free beer like that.
Yeah, right. But, some of these concerts though, like I saw this one concert of Jimmy Buffett down in Florida. And first off, there's no way that you can do a concert like this. Like this is back in this must have been like the mid 80s or something like that. Maybe like the early mid 80s. And dude, there's no way that you can do a concert like this. So basically they had like the amphitheater or the seating, right? And then right next to it, they had these people on inner tubes, just like, and it's at night. Like, so there's guys like drinking and like fucking partying, like, and it's like, now they'd be like, No way. No, no way. Like they'd be like, we don't want people drowning and fucking all this shit. And like, but yeah. I'll tell you right now, that looked amazing. That show looked awesome.
That sounds pretty awesome.
It sounded awesome, dude. I'm like, even if you're not like a huge Jimmy Buffett fan, like Jen or Velasco, even if you're not like a big Jimmy Buffett fan, that would be awesome just for the party itself, because he's one of those party guys. Like, if you go to a concert like Sammy Hagar, it's like a big party. It's more than a concert. Like, Dave Grohl with the Foo Fighters, he's like always talking and, interacting with the crowd and everything like that. So I don't know. I think that's kind of fun, but you got to have some boundaries. So like, don't throw full beers at the guy singing the songs or the guy playing the songs.
Those are the type of people that go to the strip club and throw like rolls of quarters at them,
Yeah, right. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. So
they must be the rich people, because those are the people who can afford to just throw their beer away that they bought at a concert.
Right. Right. I saw this guy, Sean, this clip of this guy. I don't know who he is, but it's just some dude on TikTok. And he was at some casino and he was like, all right, we got a $10,000. And he just puts in a thing and he's playing. And he's like, shit. He goes, all right, let's do it again. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, me looking at this, I'm like, straight to the comments. Boom. And they're like, who is this asshole who spends 40 grand in like 2 minutes on, and then after he loses 40 grand, he's like, all right, well, you win some, you lose some. I'm like, what? And then someone commented, they were like, me going to buy a bag of Doritos and putting it back because it was $4.50.
Yeah. I used to see that when I worked at the Sands, when I lived in Jersey, in Atlantic City. It was ridiculous. That's why I've never won anything except one time ever. And that's why I don't gamble. Like the last time I went to Vegas, my dad, it's like a whole family trip. Did I tell you about this? My dad just, he just walks by and gives me I think he gave me like $700 or something.
Damn.
1,000 or something. He's just like, here, go play with this. And I was like,
let me go straight to the bank and put it in my savings.
No, I just my father, like, you mean like go eat with this? I just went to all places and got a bunch of burgers and all those kinds of food and stuff. I was like, if this money is going down the drain, it's going through me.
Because it could go fast, man. Like hey, how many times I've said this a million times. I'm like, man, I want to open up a casino so bad. It's just like, and then like people always, like, all the locals, they always talk about in Vegas. They're like, you don't ever, especially if you're going to gamble, don't ever gamble on the strip. Like, you're not going to win shit. I mean, of course, some people are going to win something because, can you imagine nobody winning anything ever? But no, like the chances of you winning on the strip are very slim coming out on top than if you go basically anywhere else in Vegas.
Oh yeah, especially like I said, like me, like if I do it, I'm like, I'll gamble like Clark Griswold. I'm just like, I'm not winning anything, And then by the end of it, the guy's just like, how about I kick you in the nuts and we call it a day?
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. But the last time that I went, the one time I ever won anything, I went with a buddy and he wanted to go, and I was just taking him there. I didn't want to go. I was just like taking him where he wanted to go. And I didn't want to gamble. And he was like, well, here, just do it with this then. And he gave me like $100, right? And I said, like, okay, I'll do it. But you tell me which, you pick the machine for me, like, because you're apparently lucky. He was winning. I said, so, and he was like, okay, use this one. I put in, I got like 460 off of it, which is not crazy, but that's like better than nothing. He came out with like $4,000 or something like that. So I was like, how are you doing this? Like everything that he went on, he won. And I was just kind of like,
wow. But then like how many times has he done that to get to that point? That's what the old,
I don't know. It must take a lot of practice, which is why, I was just thinking like I could have won the lottery by now if I had been practicing buying tickets all this time.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it's craziness. But yeah, I don't really like doing that. Of course, says the guy who trades stock options, and people like equate
different
that
kind of
to
gambling,
too,
but
yeah.
So
I don't know.
it's just it's generally it's losing your money slower, or gaining it
or
slower.
gaining it really fast.
Yeah.
It's like, you just it's just like Kenny Rogers, like know when to walk away. I just
know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Yeah, I never do. So
yeah. I mean, I've had the same stock for 30 years. Wow. Well, I transferred the stock, but it's the same crap for 30 years.
Yeah, having shares and holding them, that can be good. That can be good. They had a study. They studied the top earning stock accounts of all time, and a good majority of the ones that had gained the most and were doing the best were dead people. The reason was because they weren't messing with it. They had the stuff, and they had it, and they left it alone.
Oh man!
It just went from there.
What do you think about those people that, like, you ever hear about those people like, well, there was a winner today in the Powerball jackpot, and you're like, all right, who was it? It's like some 25-year-old kid who gets to live his best life now. It's like 88-year-old Martha Johnson of blah 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 Iowa. You're like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, one time my dad was watching that, and he goes, yeah, you ever notice that all the people who win the lottery are like old and bald and fat people? And I go, yeah, you better go buy a ticket.
Did he like that?
Yeah. My dad laughs at my jokes. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I had a buddy. He I actually worked with him a long time ago, and what he would do was live off of some credit cards, and then every day he would buy lottery tickets, like Powerballs and and like all the other whatever the other ones are called, and then he would just pay his credit card bills whenever he won money from those.
Jesus
so he was never using any of his own money that he got from work.
Sounds horrible.
I know, but he was doing it though, which is the crazy part. I was like, you magnificent bastard.
Sounds like a good way to get in trouble fast.
I've never known anybody else that could pull that off. He was just like, yeah, but I saw him winning. I would see him win like 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes he'd do like $500. Sometimes I saw him get 10 grand one time, and he was just like, oh yeah, I can pay off this and then keep on going. And I think the only thing that he wasn't paying, living off, with that money was like paying for his house. But
some people are just lucky, man. I don't have that kind of luck. I don't have it. And then there's then there's the antithesis of that, where you have the guy that gets struck by lightning 6 times, so you're like, okay, well, at least I'm not that guy, but I would like to be the lucky person, but
yeah.
I don't know. Well, hey, speaking of dead people, because you brought up the person that, is really good in the stock market that's dead.
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor died last week.
Really?
Did you hear about that?
No. Uh-uh.
Yeah, Sinead, she's had some issues, but
I guess you could have segued with speaking about dead people, but also those bald people.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Except she wasn't bald. She she would shave her head. And you're like, oh, and then when you see her later, you're like, she has a full head of dark hair. You're like, wait, this is really confusing now. Cause when you're in your prime, this is how you know she was a true artist.
Uh-huh.
When she was in her prime, and she was beautiful. She was a really beautiful young singer. And then she chose to be bald. You're like, oh, okay. That's that's hardcore, man. That's hardcore. You're shit away your best years, as far as, but anyway,
you're getting famous,
but I'm just saying, but she didn't give a shit when she got shunned by the entire world with that, ripping up the Pope on SNL. She was like,
that's what it was, huh?
She was happy about it. She was like, you know what? I'm glad that happened because now I'm back to being like a true artist. You're like, wow, man, that's wild. Man, this chick is like, she is legit. She does not care. So
yeah.
I just think that was pretty crazy. Now, she's got to be one of the biggest one-hit. I mean, can you name another song by her? Like, do you?
I didn't actually want to hear the other one that she did. No, I can't though.
And that was a Prince song. That's like a cover. So
yeah,
it's like
I didn't like it at all, honestly. Like even back then, but yeah, it was one of those ones that just kind of like gets on your nerves, and to me, I was like, oh God, no. But yeah, but I appreciate the cultural impact that it had, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then after she died, then like right after that, the guy from the Eagles, which the Eagles had Don Henley. They had this many lead singers. They had Don Henley. They had Glenn Frey. They had Joe Walsh. They had Timothy B. Schmidt. And then they had the guy who just died, Randy Meisner. And he's the one that sang like one of their biggest hits, Take It to the Limit. Right? Like, take it to the limit one more time.
I actually saw that about him just today. I saw it on the little news pop-up thing on my computer.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like, all these guys that we like kind of like grew up, well, we didn't really grow up like when they were at their heyday, but like, just all these guys are starting to like go away. But it's kind of crazy seeing all these guys just peel away, but that's what happens when you get older. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So someone who's not a one-hit wonder, Willie Nelson. And he turned 90 years old earlier this year. 90. And he's expected to be inducted into he did get inducted, but formally inducted at the ceremony for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame later this year. And he's supposed to be performing, right? Now, I had a question for you. Willie Nelson, he's like one of those guys that like, do you know anybody that, now, people might not like his nasally singing, but do you know anybody that hates Willie? Have you heard someone go, I fucking hate Willie Nelson? Nobody hates Willie Nelson, right? He's like one of those guys.
It's like being John, like.
Yeah. Nobody hates John. Yeah, no. So like, yeah, I just, this guy, I don't think people realize this. This guy started in the business, like in the late 50s or something crazy.
I definitely remember, dude was old when I was a kid.
Yeah, he always looked old.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he got really big, when he started doing the outlaw stuff with, Waylon and Willie and that kind of deal. But my question for you, Sean, is he is such an icon when it comes to weed that would you say that, I was thinking about this the other day, younger people, maybe like in their 20s or 30s, I think that Willie Nelson might be more famous now for being a weed guy than his music.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Yeah. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people out there right now who don't even have any idea what he used to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you mean that guy who was in the Dukes of Hazzard movie?
Right. Yeah. Like
that. It's just like, what?
Now, I want to pose this question to you because Willie Nelson's pretty much the king of weed. Now, Willie and Snoop are basically, way up there. I mean, they're like the two faces of weed, or marijuana. But now, so if there was a Mount Rushmore of like guys that are weed guys, right? Like the most famous, the biggest icons ever in history for smoking weed or representing weed, who would be? Because I'm giving those two guys, they're going to already be on the Mount Rushmore, right? They're going to be right front and center. Now, who would be the other two guys that'd be on there?
Okay, so Willie and Snoop, yeah.
I mean, you could change it up. You could change it up if you want, but I just think that those two would definitely be up there. Because even who?
Tommy Chong.
Oh, Tommy Chong. Right. Yeah. I had, you know, what's funny? I had a little list here. And if you want me to go through the kind of like the list, I can do it for you. But like, I kind of just like, I typed in, ooh, people that are known for weed.
Yeah, I would include Cheech, but actually it was Tommy.
Yeah, but Cheech stopped, like, right? He stopped like 30 years ago or longer.
Yeah, he's but let me see. And then the one more, right? All
right, you want me to help you out here? I'm just going to read off some names. You could pick from these, and because listen, this is it's a pretty standard list for weed guys. All right. So we have Woody Harrelson, but Woody Harrelson, remember he used to do all the hemp fest. Like, he used to be front and center, like, hey everybody, welcome to Hemp Fest.
Yeah.
But Woody Harrelson, I think he stopped smoking weed a few years ago. I don't know if he stopped like forever, but he stopped smoking weed for, I don't know, like a year or something. So, but he used to be way up there.
Okay. Yeah.
Bill Maher is a huge weed guy. He used to actually smoke a lot with Woody Harrelson. Seth Rogen.
I smoke weed all day. Could I not smoke weed? Probably. Would I just much rather smoke weed all day? Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, I mean, actually, I didn't know if that was real or just in that
oh,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Bob Marley, of course.
Okay.
Doug Benson, I think he does some of those festivals as well.
Yeah.
Are these even as popular as they used to be? Because like weed's like legalized everywhere now. It's like it's not the fight that it used to be, right? Like, But Hunter S. Thompson, the famous Rolling Stone
I think
guy.
when I think to me, Hunter is more of the acid guy than the weed guy.
Right. Yeah.
I think about him.
He didn't turn away any drugs. He was just kind of like open to.
He had a whole suitcase full.
Bob Dylan, which Bob Dylan's like kind of like way old school, but like Bob Dylan got like the Beatles into smoking weed.
Everybody must get stoned.
And Jerry Garcia, obviously. Whoopi Goldberg. Cypress Hill. Except Cypress Hill's kind of like what are you going to put the whole the whole group of Cypress Hill in there? Like,
okay.
And then Ricky Williams. I don't know if you know, Ricky Williams was this running back for the Saints and the Dolphins. Okay. And this guy, he liked weed so much that he was like, I'll just quit. I'll quit. And we're like, you're pissing away like $30 million to smoke weed. Now that, my friends, is a weed smoke. That's someone that's dedicated. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, okay. So those are the 12 kind of like
out of that list. I'm going with Bob Marley then.
Okay. So Bob Marley and Chong. So there's the two.
I'm with like everybody. Like some of them I didn't actually know about. Like I didn't know about a couple of them, but yeah, I mean, Bob Marley,
like he's synonymous with like, there's posters of like, weed plants and then Bob Marley. Like
every fucking stoner that you've ever seen in your life has had the Bob Marley poster in their room.
It's like black light, like weed, big old weed.
Exactly. Right next to the poster of the giant weed plant. Yeah.
So, I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you on the Bob Marley. And I would have maybe considered Woody Harrelson on there, but he stopped smoking weed. Like Bob Marley never stopped smoking weed. I mean, he's like probably turned it up when he got cancer. I don't know.
I think that, I mean, I know like it's a tough one because for me, because Woody Harrelson, I mean, like he got famous for like having like so much support for it and being, like open about it and all these kinds of things. But I don't feel like any part of his fame came from like being a weed smoker.
No, I'm with you there because like the other guys, you see their faces and you're like, oh, it's a weed guy. Maybe Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Maybe Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think maybe. I mean, yeah. You got.
I like we're having a serious debate about this. Like
Pineapple Express, guy. But like I said, I didn't even know if that was just his character or not, honestly.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah. He talks about it a lot. Like that's definitely like his passion is weed. All right. So let's get to, I sent you an email earlier today with with the 25 funniest movies ever made, ever. And I was so fascinated with this list, what was on this list, that I had to send it over to you. And there's a couple takeaways from this list. Now, I sent you a message saying, hey, listen, do you agree? First off, do you agree with this list? But second off, is there stuff missing on here that you would have included? And I wrote down a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So basically it's the top 25 movies, and they're saying like of all time, which is weird, by the way, because comedy has changed so much. You try to watch those really old comedies and they could be like, it just don't work, man. They just don't work.
Honestly, with that on that list, I was looking through it, and some of them are like, I didn't even fucking know this was a comedy.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know it was supposed to be a comedy. And then some of them are like, well, let's go through it. I'll make these remarks when we're going through it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So like, I'll just kind of like, we'll quickly go through some of this. Now I kind of highlighted on here ones that are kind of questionable to me, and I don't know if they are to you, but so, all right. So let's just start at like, let's work our way up.
Yeah.
So number 25, they have Caddyshack. That's great. That's classic, right?
It belongs. Yeah.
24, they have Something About Mary. Hilarious movie. I mean, now, okay. 23, they had Ghostbusters. Now, I love Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of the 80s, but when you think of Ghostbusters, you're like, is that like the funniest movie like ever? Like there's clearly funny moments in it with like,
and
Bill Murray.
That's one of the things that I wanted to say about the list is it's like, to call something one of the funniest movies of all time, what's the criteria? Right. What's the criteria here? Because there's all kinds of movies where there's a couple of parts that are really funny. Right. You're going to quote that stuff for years. Like Ghostbusters, yes. You could be like, is this true? Yes, it's true, Your Honor. This man has no dick. Like stuff like that, right?
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
So, but then it's like, what about the rest of it though? Does that count as like, make it like one of the funniest movies ever?
Because the whole thing is not like a classic comedy. It's like it's a fantastic movie. I have nothing bad to say
that was the other thing is like not being on that list doesn't exclude it from being one of the most awesome movies of all time. Right.
Yeah. So then they had Friday's classic. That's a classic movie.
You ever hear that? Do you know that story that? Wow, what's his name? Is it the Jonah Hill? You ever hear that story he tells about when him and they were making 21 Jump Street, and him and Channing Tatum were on a flight, and Ice Cube was on there.
Oh no way!
And they were watching. Ice Cube's watching this movie on his laptop, and he's just cracking up laughing, right? And he's saying like they had just kind of met him, they didn't know him very well, but they were like what could possibly be made so funny that Ice Cube, and they wanted to know because they're like, maybe we can go off of it and do something to make him laugh, and so they come up with this plan. He's like, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the bathroom so I can come back, and on the way I'll look and see what he's watching on his laptop. And so they do it. He comes back and he goes by and he looks at Ice Cube's laptop and he's watching Friday. His own movie is great. He wrote it, he's in it, and that's what's making him laugh.
That is awesome, dude.
What it was. So yeah, but Friday definitely belongs in there.
That's a classic. That's a classic. This one, number 21, that Shrek. Shrek's it's a good movie, but like
good movie.
There's like there's people in that movie, just in that movie, like that voice that movie itself, that are not on the list. Otherwise, that should be on the list. Okay, who the hell is on? Okay, so they had the only movie that Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy are in on this list is Shrek. Is that their best movie? They don't have Austin Powers. They don't have Wayne's World. They do not have Trading Places, 48 Hours. They don't have Coming to America. They have Shrek over those movies. Shrek.
Easily almost any movie that either of those two was in individually even would still make the list.
What the fuck?
Well, yeah, that's crazy.
It's a weird one. It's an interesting pick. All right, so Office Space, number 20. What can you say?
Office Space fits. Yeah.
Hangover at number 19. Hangover, that's a pretty low for number 19. That's a classic movie. Number 18, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut from 1989. That was I mean, that was so funny to see like a movie that raunchy that was a cartoon that came out.
It was because the cartoons, they're just
they don't give a shit.
First cartoon movies we ever had to see that was like swearing that much, and we were just like,
yeah, whoa,
yeah,
like God damn it, Kyle, like, it's like swearing and shit.
Yeah.
Another classic at number 17. They have Airplane. I mean, that was a classic. Hot Fuzz, number 16. Have you? I never saw that, or maybe I did, and I don't remember it. I've seen parts of it.
Hot Fuzz is funny. It's the guys from Shaun of the Dead, right? You know.
Yes.
And there was some funny, there's some funny parts,
it's like half comedy and half like action movie, right? Isn't that kind of like what the deal is?
And it's also like some dark, that sort of classic style, dark British humor. You know? But like there's parts like my buddy Matt is a cop, and so I'll just randomly in a conversation with him, you know, I'll drop like a line from Hot Fuzz on him, and I'll be like, did you ever find out that spot on a car where if you shoot it, the car will explode? You know, and he'll just start laughing. Isn't
that where like he talks about because I think I've seen parts of it. Like, isn't that where he's like, if you shoot like in the head somewhere it explodes or something like that?
Yeah, there always is just it's funny. It's a funny movie, but I don't know it hits the list or not for me, but it's a funny movie for sure.
Number 15, they had Bridesmaids. Now that one scene alone, did you ever see that movie?
What? I can't picture it.
So they're like they ate. I can't remember what they ate.
Who is it? Who's it?
It's that big chick from that Mike and Molly or whatever it was, and then you have some of the SNL chicks. But anyway, there's this one scene, and they all get like food poisoning, and they're out trying on outfits for the wedding, and they're like, holy shit, and they're like, we gotta find a fucking bathroom, and like she's scrambling. She goes across the street, and then she's just like, I'm not gonna make it. And then she like kind of like just stops right in the middle of the street, and she's like, it was fucking hilarious. Like that I fucking laughed really hard at that scene right there. That alone, I don't know if I'd put this like, you know, top. Maybe the latter half of this list, I might include that, but that fucking scene alone was
okay.
Wow, it's great.
Okay.
This one was interesting. So again, I think these movies are entertaining, but would you put not 21, but 22 Jump Street at the number 14 funniest movie of all time?
Close your eyes and tell me who's talking right now.
Funniest movie of all time.
Is that the one? Is there three of them? Was there two or three of them?
I can't remember. I saw both of them, and they both kind of like mix into. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I laughed pretty hard at both of them. I mean, I did. Like,
there's funny scenes in these.
Yeah. I don't know if they'd make the list for me, but I laughed pretty hard at both of them. I don't know. Okay. All
right. So Big Lebowski is number 13. It's a pretty funny movie. My personal favorite scene from that was when those guys bust into his house and they're like, "Where's the buddy?" And like he's like, and they just shoving his fucking face in the toilet. And he's like,
"It's down there somewhere, man. Let me take another look."
Oh my god, I fucking lost my shit. Oh god.
Lebowski is one of the very few movies where you can quote almost every single line from it.
It's like my brother's favorite movie.
Like everything anybody says, and the whole thing is funny.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
It's a cult. It's like a huge cult classic. They have like conventions and shit with it.
What really surprised me when I first saw it was that we weren't watching that like way earlier than when I first
right.
discovered it. I was like, what, we would have been watching this back then all the time. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, right up our alley. Right up our alley. A movie that could never be made today, ever in a million years. Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
No, like you watch that. People watch if you try to show that to a zillennial, and they'd be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
is this real? Is this a real movie? Is this real?"
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's even like there hasn't been some sort of, efforts of ban
backlash
now or something.
Well, everyone that started that movie is dead, pretty much. So what are they going to do? They're going to cancel Richard Pryor and
Yeah, Mel Brooks.
Duck Soup. Now, have you ever seen Duck Soup? Marx Brothers. I love the Marx Brothers. So
I haven't. I've never.
All right, I think that Duck Soup might be the only really old movie on here that would probably, because their type of humor is like timeless to me. Like they're just always, it's kind of like the Three Stooges. You're just like, they're always fucking with each other. Like, how can you not like laugh at the Three Stooges? They're just, fucking with each other the entire time. And I think that's the same with Duck Soup and that group.
I'll have to find it. I'll find it and watch it.
I mean, it's really old. Like we're talking 1933. But it's funny.
I can find it. I actually have Nosferatu and the original Dracula movie, right? That's from like the 20s.
Yeah. So I do like Duck Soup. Now, His Girl Friday. I'm not aware of that. That came out in 1940. I'm like, well, I'm surprised I don't know that. I'm like, no, but I'm never going to be that guy that says, well, I mean, I wasn't born yet, so how would I know about that? But I mean, I've never even heard of it. So
I've heard of it, but I didn't know it was supposed to be a comedy. I mean, yeah,
maybe. Hey, listen, this is his top 10. Now we're in the top 10. This is the number 10. So that was the number 10 movie. How about Dr. Strangelove?
Dr. Strangelove. Again, like I wasn't even aware that was supposed to be a comedy.
Sounds like a Bond movie.
Like I've heard of it. I feel like I've seen bits and pieces of it, but never like sat and watched it. I didn't know it was supposed to be a comedy.
1964. Yeah. Okay, now we're down to the top 8. So now I did not see this movie when it first came out, but I saw it like a couple of years later. Oh God, I love this movie so much. Number 8, 2007's Superbad.
Superbad.
Fucking love this movie.
Superbad's
I love that movie.
Superbad is funny. McLovin, like in his fake ID and all that. That's pretty much a classic already. It's funny shit. Yeah.
There's so many classic scenes from that movie. It's like these eyes.
Yeah.
So great.
Plus, it's got the Jonah Hill in it with the
he's so awesome.
Stain on his pants and all that.
Makes me want to watch it again.
I don't know, the detergent.
Yeah, the detergent.
Full of beer or whatever.
So gross. Oh God. Number 7, we got Anchorman. I loved about 3/4 of Anchorman. Then it got a little, like a lot of comedies for me, like falls apart like drastically towards the end. But that first 3/4 of that movie, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
That spits. Yeah.
Young Frankenstein, 1974.
Young Frankenstein. I've only seen it once, and it was maybe almost 10 years ago. I watched this for the first time. It's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know about the list funny, but it's...
I don't know if I'd put it in my top... I don't even know if I'd put it in my top 20.
It wasn't funny. Let's put it this way. It wasn't funny enough to where I've watched it again since I saw it last.
There you go. And you watch a lot of movies, or you did. I don't know if you still do. But Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's a classic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of classic scenes from that. If you can understand them when they're talking, it's a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to watch. We in the basement we watched a lot of Monty Python. Some of them sucked, but that was a good one.
Yeah, I like Life of Brian.
Life of Brian was funny. Yeah, Life of Brian was funny. Holy Grail was funny. Jabberwocky sucked. I'm not gonna hijack the thing by going through the list of Python movies I thought were good and bad, but yeah.
All right. Here's another one that kind of. All right. Now, is this the funniest movie? This is the number 4 funniest movie of all time. The Princess Bride. Now, there's funny parts in this movie, but is it the 4th funniest movie of all time? That's fucking wild to me.
So we're running up on a couple of the movies where
what?
We're running up on a couple of the movies from the list where I looked at it and I thought,
right when you said that,
awesome
I knew what you were
movie.
going to say. I knew which one you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like it stays confused, right?
Yeah,
Because we both, I mean, shit, how many times did we watch that movie, right?
Yeah.
We fucking love that movie. More than maybe a lot of people watching right now. We've seen that movie so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, I went through one time and counted how many times he said, what was it? How many?
Man.
He said, oh yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's part of what that's part of one of the things I was going to say about Dazed and Confused is, and it kind of goes to some of the criteria of some of these movies, right? Is that like what we did with it, like the things that we picked out that we thought were funny.
Yeah.
But then we like endlessly amused ourselves with those things. So it wasn't really the movie itself. It was like what we did with it later with the material that we got from it that we thought was funny. And so that adds to like the way that we remember it and the way that we think about it. But the movie itself,
it's not the funniest movie ever. It's like it's like nostalgic. It's like they're doing like regular shit
to be a comedy.
They're going to a kegger. They're getting fights and shit, like a lot of dialogue. You're like, okay, well, it's not all of this movie is funny. Actually, there's not what are the hilarious parts of that movie? I mean, like, obviously, Matthew McConaughey is funny, but I don't know. I don't know, whatever. That's an odd selection.
And that's only because we just thought that his character was funny because of the way that he behaved, but it wasn't designed to be like a comedy, I don't think, right? Like it was just like we thought it was funny because there's this dude who graduated like years ago and he's still hanging out trying to get the chicks, like,
I mean, the premise is hilarious.
Yeah,
like
and the way that he talks and all of that stuff was just funny, but it wasn't like he's busting out comedy lines, and,
right. Yeah. So number 2, they have Some Like It Hot. Now, I am a huge Jack Lemmon fan. I don't even think that this is his best comedy, like in my opinion. I mean, has Marilyn Monroe in it? I mean, that's always a plus. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's one of those comedies too, where it's like the type of comedy is kind of not as funny as it once was. If you've ever seen this movie, I don't know. I mean, I think that personally, I think that The Odd Couple is a better movie, is a funnier movie. I think that. I mean, I think Grumpy Old Men is a funnier movie than that movie. And Prisoner of Second Avenue, I think that's a funny movie. But hey, it's on my list. It's not my list.
Well, it is now. I haven't seen it. I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea. Actually,
you watch that movie. Watch that movie
that you just said. I've only seen Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah, 93 has a bunch of like funny comedies that came out that year that are classics. Like the one coming up, Groundhog Day. Number 1 they had. Groundhog Day that's a hilarious movie. The whole premise of that movie's hilarious. I love that movie. I don't know if I'd put it number 1, but it'd be way up there. I love Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is funny. I mean, again, it's got Bill. Bill Murray is like one of those guys where anything he says is funny, and that's why, like, that's most of what made Ghostbusters funny to be on the list in the first place. Is
absolutely
like his lines were the funniest ones in the movie.
Yeah, Bill Murray's the wise ass. He's always like the cracking jokes in all his movies, really. All right. I'm gonna go through here. Okay. Do you have any movies that you feel that should have been on the list, or do you have any? Because I have a bunch. I have a bunch here that are. This is a crime that some of these were not included. A crime, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you had any that came to your head that you didn't see on this list, but I'm going to name off some if if you don't.
Yeah, because how many movies of like Jim Carrey might have been on the list, right? Or
That's
Sandler,
what I had marked down.
Or
yep. No Ace Ventura, no Dumb and Dumber, no Cable Guy, no none of that. And you said Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler. How do you not have? Well, I mean, maybe this is just because of how old we were, but I mean, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. How do you not have anything from those? You know, no Chris Farley, no Chris Farley. No Tommy Boy. That's wild.
Tommy Boy. Yeah, I mean it's there should be. What do you got on the list?
Well, yeah. So remember, I did I did mark down that there was no Mike Myers or Eddie Murphy movies aside from Shrek.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even Austin Powers should have been like pretty close, if not.
I think. Well, okay. So when I first saw the Austin Powers movie, man, I thought that was so funny. I just thought it was so funny, like that he mixed in the mocking of all the James Bond, and then with the old music, and it was just so funny, bad teeth and shit. But like, I remember seeing the second one in the theater with like a big group of people, kind of like what we did with Beavis and Butthead. I remember we had like 2 full rows, like filling up the whole place. But like, I went to see the second Austin Powers, and I remember we were laughing so hard at that movie that we were like fucking tearing up, dude. Like we were like crying. We were laughing so hard. Again, maybe that was because we were with a group of people that were all laughing our asses off together. But those first 2 movies are classics to me. Mm-hmm. I think they're great. The third one drops off a lot, but here's one. Step Brothers, Elf,
I know, right?
Old School, Wedding Crashers. Come on. Are you kidding me? Stop it. Stop with this nonsense.
Step Brothers should have easily been. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Man, you look like you just have the 1,000-yard stare. Like, okay, some ones that I kind of like wrote down that I'll just list some off that I thought were hilarious when I first saw them. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. This is Spinal Tap is a great mockumentary. The Jerk.
The Jerk does. I mean, so many people haven't seen it because of how old it is.
Yeah.
It's like Steve Martin
in his prime.
Steve Martin belongs on any list alongside Eddie Murphy or Belushi or Bill Murray.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles isn't on here. Yeah. National Lampoon's Vacation from 1983.
None of the vacation movies were on there.
Nope. They didn't have any, what's it called? So Borat wasn't, I remember when I first saw Borat, I was like fucking laughing my ass off too. That guy does some really messed up stuff in his skits and movies.
Yeah.
Slapshot is pretty goddamn funny.
Slapshot is pretty funny.
The Blues Brothers, Rich Falls would be fucking outraged by the Blues Brothers not being on there. The Naked Gun. None of the Naked Gun movies are on here.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Sean, this is wild. This is crazy. I had to triple check. Did I read this off and just not see it, or maybe I'm crazy? And I'm like, oh no, I went through it a couple times and I was like, I did not see this movie. And it's one of the biggest classic comedies of all time. I think it might have been the number 1 movie of that year. Certainly number 1 comedy. 1978's Animal House. Not on the list.
Yeah, they I mean, when you consider The Jerk was missing, they've got movies on there from like before we were born, and a couple of them I never heard of. And
I'm telling you, go back and watch some of those movies
I've heard of but didn't know they were supposed to be comedies. But Animal House isn't even on there.
Animal House, come on.
That's a travesty.
Yeah.
Who made this list? Movie Web?
I I don't.
What it was? Somebody working with Movie Web that was on their web. That was the
Yeah, it's a guy that like reviews movies and shit. So it's like, movieweb.com. Movieweb.com. Yeah. So I was trying my hardest to find out who this dude was. I'm like, okay, how old is this guy? Is he? Because he's basically missing some of the biggest classics of all time. Maybe he's like a really young guy that's like, okay, I need to put some movies on from like way back in the day. And I'm like, did you watch these movies? Because like I said, some of these movies, like I personally, I think Duck Soup is a solid movie. I love that movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Some
said
Like It Hot.
Because I got to look it up and I got to find it, and I forgot already, so I'll remember now. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
Oh man, I feel like I could just come up with like a whole bunch more too, but
when we
sitting here in silence for 10 minutes,
Oh yeah, when you had that Vietnam flashback, that was when I was like, okay, I need to. Hey, Sean, you all right, buddy? You good?
That's been happening to me since the 70s.
Oh god.
Yes, but like you said, Ben Stiller, like Zoolander isn't there.
Yeah.
Dodgeball isn't there.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of there's like, I mean, listen, me trying to compile a list like this would make me crazy. But I also think that I would do a lot better with compiling a list like this. And by the way, like I said, I think there's, even with some of the ones that this guy picked, I think there's funnier movies from especially Jack Lemmon. I love Jack Lemmon. I think he is great. All throughout his career, he did like great comedies. He did great serious roles. That guy's a legend. I love Jack Lemmon. But I don't know. Some Like It Hot was, I'm sure it was like a fantastic movie when it first came out. And again, comedy was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was way before, Carlin and Pryor and Eddie Murphy.
It's a really hard list to make, really. It's like, again, there has to be some criteria, to understand what made the list, because some things are funnier to other people than they are to other people. Like Napoleon Dynamite, right? Like I know people who think it's the stupidest movie ever. They're not even going to crack a smile the entire time. And it's just like I happen to think it was hilarious, but it's because it's necessarily the dialogue and stuff, but it's like it's these tiny little nuances in there that are funny, If you don't pay attention to details, you don't see them. I remember
when I watched it the first time, people were like, dude, you got to see this movie. And I was like, fucking, I can't wait. And I was like, I watched it and I was like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? What is this shit?
Yeah. I
definitely liked it the second time I watched it a lot better than the first time. The first time I was like so confused on what it was. I was like, what is this?
I was dying laughing in the first minute. He's just standing there waiting for the bus. And I started laughing already because
he looks funny.
He's just
and he talks funny.
He's got those like
Uncle Rico and
those little moon boots on or whatever. And those shitty, elastic pants, and I think I had some of those. And then you think about it and you're like, he doesn't smile or anything the entire movie. He's always like just irritated. Yeah. And it's just like, and then it ends with him doing like that ridiculous dance to Can't Heat by Jamiroquai. Yeah, that he got from the VHS tape from the video. It was also confusing too, because I was like, wait, is this supposed to be set in like is this present time, or is this supposed to be in the 80s, or what's going on? There's so many questions that I had about this movie. Yeah, it cracked me up. It's funny. Yeah. All right. And Sean, the last thing I want to talk about today is the passing of Pee Wee Herman, a true legend. Yeah. At least to us. I don't know if everybody else considers him a legend, but he certainly was in our circle. What are your thoughts on Pee Wee Herman? I guess he had like a
brain tumor or something, or, you know, some sort of brain cancer that he was fighting for the last couple of years or a few years, I guess.
Something like that. Yeah. It's it kind of sucks. I'd kind of like to see, I kind of like to see like a list of what these, you know, these people are actually passing from, like, altogether, because by the time that another one goes, we don't really remember exactly what happened to the last one. But I'm kind of wondering if there's you know, something like a common sort of a cause, right? I don't know. I mean, but Pee-wee, I hope people remember him well. You know,
oh yeah, dude.
An incident that people might remember him for a little bit more than others, and you know, and so, you know, that wouldn't be what I would prefer to remember him by.
Yeah, exactly. No, so that's what I wanted to kind of go over here. So Pee-wee's roles started back in 1980. 1980, his role started. I don't know if you remember him from the Blues Brothers, but he was like the waiter in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
We have a Dom Perignon 71 at $120.
That'll be fine, pal.
He was a desk clerk in the Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Hey, listen, you
let
little...
go of me!
Hey, give me this fucking luggage, you
Why
little
don't you let go of me? I know you are, but what am I?
The bus driver in Meatballs 2 in 1984.
Albert, slow down. Smell the pine.
That's no pine, that's wheelchair exhaust!
I don't even remember that at all. It's crazy.
It's so ridiculous.
Wow.
But it was in 1985, the next year, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Now, this movie is a bona fide classic. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's one of my favorite movies. Like, there's so many great quotes from this movie. I mean, I've, you know, like the Dottie, there's things about me you wouldn't understand. There's things about me you couldn't understand. There's things about me you shouldn't understand. And she's like, I don't understand, Dottie. No, but dude, dude, there's so many parts. I could spend an entire episode talking about this movie alone. I mean, like the everything from the Alamo to the tequila dance to the breakfast machine. You gotta love the breakfast machine.
Oh man, yeah, that's like, that was awesome. You know what drove me crazy about that though?
What's that?
And if you know me, you'll know why. But he doesn't actually eat any of it. Like, he eats like one.
Yeah, he took like a bite of the toast or whatever, right?
That
like,
was it. And
yeah.
I'm just kind of like, you gonna finish them there vittles or what? Can I have them?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Why didn't he finish? Did they just cut it to the next scene, or did he not just wasn't hungry? He's like, you know what? No, this is me. This is Pee-wee. I just eat one bite of this toast and then I'm done.
Pee-wee idiosyncrasy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Pee-wee. Maybe that's how he kept his good figure. He would
keep all them suits in his closet fitting.
Oh, the suits that are like too small.
Yeah, like Ernest's closet with like all the same outfit in it.
Ernest, yeah. How many times did everyone our age pause the scene of Large Marge and put it in like super slow-mo and watch it over like 100 times?
It looked like this.
I don't know, but I know how many times we did it. Large Marge.
Oh God, that is such a great scene, man. Like, who thought? I think that's what's his name's first movie too. Tim Burton. I think that's his first movie that he did. Well, first major movie. So that was a great collaboration because you got the weirdness of Tim Burton and Pee-wee Herman, and I think what's his name co-wrote it, Phil Hartman. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I can't say I realized that Tim Burton made Pee-wee.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know. I just, listen, I'm a huge fan. I own the DVD. I had, the tape of it. I would say I'm no joke. I'm a fan. I'm a true fan over here. Pee-wee was he was a
I know you are, but what am I? I'm Pee Wee Herman.
Okay. So yeah, no.
Did you do a Pee Wee Halloween costume?
No, I used to get somebody that I used to hang out with to do it all the time because he had the right look.
Yeah.
But he did not want anything to do with that. And almost every year I'd be like, dude, you should go as Pee Wee. I think he wanted to try to be cool guys instead of Pee Wee.
Now, if you had, right, who would you have gone as then? Because you do like ensemble like Halloween costumes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the right. I'd love to go as Francis, but I'm not big enough for Francis.
No, you'd have to like wear like a fat suit or something.
Don't know. Maybe I could dress up like the lumberjack.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough for that guy. I don't. Listen, you want me to say Dottie, aren't you? You want me to say Dottie?
Yeah.
You have to be somebody that's recognizable from that, and the only other person is Francis, like that I could think of, right? Like, who else would go in a costume like that, other than Pee Wee? I'm trying to think, but
he's kind of like that's kind of a one man movie.
It's a one man.
Yeah.
It's a one man costume, and the only way to really pull it off is to have the bike.
Yeah.
And that's an expensive costume.
Well, because I mean, and that's what I mean is that like you would go all out on something like that, like when you guys did the A-Team and and all of that too.
Yeah.
It's like legendary enough to actually get the van and everything. I mean, like that's crazy. So I brag to people about that all the time. I'm like he does like legit Halloween.
So ridiculous. I've even driven to the Dinosaur Museum and went up into the Dinosaur. I was like, I got to do this. I have to do it. I have to go in here. I got to see where Pee Wee Herman was hanging out and getting chased by that big lumberjack dude. Yeah. Of course, it was a set when they have it on the inside, but still cool to see in the inside.
Nice.
Because it was actually filmed there, but it's actually filmed there too. Is the Tears for Fears Everybody Wants to Rule the World is filmed at that museum as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, the same year too. Did that museum come out like the same year or something like that? It was like, this is the biggest thing around. I'm like, it's in the middle of nowhere. How do you guys even find this? It's like it's outside of like Palm Springs somewhere. Somewhere on the freeway. So I don't know. Check it out if you're in the middle of nowhere, people. You can check out the Dinosaur Museum. You're like, yeah, put it on my list. Or you could just watch a YouTube of someone going there, or I could send you some video of
put it on the list right below the line that says "Go to the middle of nowhere," and then that will be the next thing on the list. Check off number one. Right to number two.
I was excited to go there. Yeah, so Pee Wee from there, then he did Pee Wee's Playhouse, which was massively huge as well, and everybody loved it. I don't know anybody that hated that show. It was a massive success.
And how many movies did they have? 2?
Well, there's Big Top Pee Wee that came out like 88 or something like that, but it's not as good. It's just, the first one is classic. The second one's like, eh. And then they did that special, like a holiday special, like a few years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Pee Wee, I keep calling him Pee Wee. Paul Reubens, listen, he's Pee Wee. It's kind of like, do you call? I don't even know his name. What's his name? Who's Gilligan? What's Gilligan's name?
Exactly.
What is his name? I can see Bob Denver, right?
Denver, yeah.
Bob Denver. Does anybody call him Bob Denver? No, they call him Gilligan because he's Gilligan, right? It sucks, but he's Gilligan. It's kind of like when you saw what's his name on My Cousin Vinny. You're like, hey, that's Herman Munster.
Oh yeah, the judge.
Herman Munster's the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Ralph Macchio, I think he's pretty much like karate. He's pretty much Daniel,
Yeah, right. Yeah, Karate Kid. Yeah. So but when you have, the only way that he can kind of like escape that if he's in a costume or if he does a voice, which is what he did in Flight of the Navigator.
See you later, alligator.
Do you know, Jen has never seen Flight of the Navigator. She's only like a year.
Get on Flight of the Navigator. You know,
I know. I got it. We got to take care of that.
Yeah, that's like
unacceptable.
That's like kind of coupled with like Explorers. You know, like on the same sort of. It's like a twin.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, a few years into that TV show, everything kind of came to a screaming halt.
The word is stop.
He had an incident. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of got caught in a theater.
He got caught, as they say, with his pants down.
Oh, ouch! Too soon. It's like happened in like 91. But yeah, no, that was kind of like the end of Pee-wee for many years. But when he came back and made that appearance on MTV's Music Awards,
yeah,
tell me that was not the most epic comeback ever.
Heard any good jokes lately?
I think it's probably one of the best ways possible to deal with coming back out after something like that. Just like, heard any good jokes lately?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like, there's only a couple of times that I could think of that people really like owned up to that kind of thing. And remember, like, it was kind of like that Hugh Grant thing where didn't he like try to pick up some hooker or something like that? And he was dating like the hottest chick ever in the world. Like people were like, what the what? And he went on Leno, and Leno was like, oh, what the hell were you thinking?
Let me start with question number one. What the hell were you thinking?
Oh God!
This is, some of them have, just the, it was like when Schwarzenegger was running for governor, and in one of his things, somebody threw some eggs at him, and the eggs hit him, and then they said, "What did you think about that?" And he goes, "I think he owes me bacon now."
Well, this guy owes me bacon now. I mean, there's no two ways about it, because you can't just have eggs without bacon.
It's like funny. Like, good for you, dude. That's how you do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, come on.
I can normally do a better Schwarzenegger than that. So
I think I need some bacon. Yeah. So I don't know. Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, he went on to do like, Mystery Men and, a bunch of other stuff too. But I mean, the 80s, that was just like, he was the biggest thing ever. Like Pee Wee Herman was awesome, man.
When you think about, I didn't remember some of the things that you mentioned he was in until you mentioned it. It's kind of like when you realize that Uncle Rico was the Wolfman in Monster Squad. You're like, wait, what?
That's awesome.
I was like, what?
Well, yeah, because like we didn't know who he was back in the day, but when you go back and watch some of these movies, you're like, what? Hey, that's Pee-wee. Pee-wee's the waiter in Blues Brothers?
Yeah.
Nobody knew who Pee-wee was, like, unless you're like in the comedy circuits back then,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
It's awesome.
It's tough when, you start seeing all these people that are going away, and, Sinead O'Connor, she's a little different though.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of Sinead O'Connor. Like Sinead O'Connor was like, some angry chick with short hair and sang a song that, a lot of people liked. I know that Sean used to play that over and over, and I was like, dude, Sean, can you turn that down? Yeah. God, trying to watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure over here.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Pee-wee's on? Oh, let me just turn this on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, so what do you think about this? Remember how we used to talk about people, like we had this, I don't know who had it, but the people dying in threes, right?
Yeah.
Did we just have that or what?
Well, okay, so
because
who was the first?
I think it was her.
Okay, so who was the second one?
The guy from the Eagles, right?
Oh, well, okay. So But is he big enough? Like, I mean, he sang a number one hit, and he was in like the number one band of the 70s. But yeah, Randy Meisner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's big enough, but I mean, to me, I thought that guy was great. You know, he was in the Eagles for the first, I don't know.
I don't feel like he's a household name, if that's what you're getting at. Yeah, I mean, that might be, you know.
The other two are, you can't really deny it, you know. Even though, again, Sinead O'Connor, boy, man, she really made a career at that song. I gotta give her credit for that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even hers.
Yeah, and there might be a lot of people like these days that don't really know who she is because it's been quite a while. Yeah.
Right. And if they don't know who she is, they certainly don't know who Randy Meisner is. Now, if Glenn Fry, who died a few years ago, and Don Henley or Joe Walsh, like any of those guys, then that's a solid 3.
But you would have to agree, with the exception of you know, of him. The rest, all 3 of them, though, have like more significance to our generation than
Sinead O'Connor.
Well, no, just that the amount of people like these days, they didn't get to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. They didn't get to, you know.
Oh, sure.
Like they didn't get to, they didn't listen to, you know, that music quite as much. And, and everything. So like the 80s and 90s, people who came up in the 80s and 90s, even the later 70s, are going to be, you know, a little more familiar with all 3 of them.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, listen, Sinead O'Connor had a number 1 hit. Randy Meisner had a number 1 hit with the Eagles. So I'll give it to you, man. I'll give it to you. I'll give you the 3. I'll give you the 3. Watch someone like massive dies tonight. We're like, oh, okay. Oh God,
man. Yeah.
Listen, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse because you know, we grew up in the crazy television age where there are huge stars, and now it's like, no. So when people die now, like later, like who is it? Like TikTok star blah 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 dies, and you're like, oh man, remember watching that guy's TikToks? I guess that would be I don't know, because like movies and television aren't as big as they used to be, and the social media it's all about social media, YouTube, TikTok, you know, all that kind of stuff. So who knows how it's going to be, but it's going to be weird because like everyone's into different things. It's not like we were all into the same kinds of things. Like, listen, we were fed the same music, the same TV shows, the same movies. So we all have that connection. Our generation has that connection. The younger generation, they have a million choices of everything. They can go back in time and watch all the movies. They have all the TikToks and all the celebrities on Instagram and all this stuff. Like you don't even have, like, how many genres of music are there now? You don't even have to, you could never listen to like the same song twice. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, probably part of why we didn't recognize some of the people that were in all those different movies and things is because there was no way to look them up and, you know, like to have this resource, you know, that sort of info. Just like now you see somebody and you're like, oh yeah, who is that? What was he in? And then you just go on like IMDb or something.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, boom. And, instant gratification, kind of like Pee-wee in the theater.
Who said it was instant? Give him a little bit of credit. I mean, maybe it was, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did they ever determine if he finished? Okay.
One way or the other, everybody finished.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
That's mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Wait, now is it mean if they stopped him like before, or does it mean that we're talking about that after he just died?
Oh, I don't know, but I think the meaner one is if they stopped him before. I don't know. Because, you know, if it were, imagine being the theater guy, right? You going in there and you're I mean, how do you find out? You just like walk in, you look, and then you see that happening. Did somebody like go say like, hey, there's this, or I mean, I don't understand how
Listen,
that works out, but
listen,
I wouldn't want to be the one walking up and saying, yeah, could you maybe stop doing that?
Can you imagine how many times they've had to do that, though? Like, the fact that they arrested him was probably just kind of like some, regular occurrence. And then they're like, oh, this is Paul Reubens, like the Paul Reubens?
Yeah.
And he has like long hair and he's all disheveled and has his pants down.
Yeah. It would be kind of interesting to
they're probably just, they're going through with a,
This is the thing. I'm kind of like, I have this inner conflict where I'm like, do I really want to know about this? Like, how curious do I really want to be? How this plays out. I don't know.
We've kind of got off the rails here. No, so Pee Wee Herman, what a great tribute this has been. You will be missed. And I'll certainly remember the 80s more than, the later stuff because, that's when he was huge and that's when we were following him. And that's when he was in major roles by himself and not, kind of like the bit roles that they gave him afterwards. But he did kind of do that like revival. Did you ever see the one on Netflix where they had the holiday special Pee Wee in like 2015 or something like that? Did you see that?
Was it the one I saw one where the last one that I saw that he was in had Joe Manganiello in it with him. He's the guy, in the movie, he was the guy riding the motorcycle, and he met him in town, and he showed him like the exact miniature model of the town, and he talked about how he wanted a tree house, and he built him one, and the model. It was actually kind of cool. Kind of a thing, and I'm kind of like I like Joe's stuff too. So if you don't know who Joe Manganiello is, he was in like the TV show like True Blood that was on HBO. He was in a movie called Sabotage with Schwarzenegger.
Okay,
he's been in some stuff. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right, we're gonna wrap this up, buddy. Pee Wee, rest in peace.
Well, I'll just say, Pee Wee, if you're up there, I hope you're riding your bike, and don't let Francis steal it from you this time.
Yes. Well, Francis, he's in hell. Francis is in hell. So, yeah.
For stealing for bike theft?
Yes.
He's in the hell for, all right.
I want my bike, Pee Wee. All right.
All right.
Okay. All right, Sean. I'll talk to you when you get here next month. And we'll have to kick it and get some drinks and party and get crazy and have a rager. Or you're like, well, I'm coming to hang out with my daughter. I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
so yeah.
Maybe afterwards.
All right.
All right, buddy. All right. For Sean Greenfield, I'm Josh. And as always, thank you for being a friend.